So we've just come out of the family court again. Just pretty much, they wanted an update on the matters and what things are up to and blah blah blah. My hearing for the local court, which was, as in the date that is, which was given to me last week, is in January. It's in mid-January 2017. So the judge in the family court pretty much indicated that she realizes that's the date. The other thing is that facts don't want to intervene to pretty much take the children away from the mother because of the new domestic violence that's happening inside her home that the children are exposed to. Mind you, it's extreme violence as well, where the mother has pretty much grabbed the pole, and I'm going to give you words to the effect of from a actual report that was made to Family and Community Services, where she pretty much grabbed the pole and hit a male several times. Like, it just goes to show how biased they actually are. It doesn't matter what the mother does. She needs to be dead before they give you the kids. Like, it doesn't matter if she's got borderline personality disorder. It doesn't matter if she's diagnosed with any cluster B disorder, that is. It won't really matter. Anyway, what I've been told outside of court, once court was not in session anymore via my lawyer, is that if I win this, if I succeed in the local court hearing and get the charges dropped, mind you, these charges are common assault charges. And if you read the statement made by the children, obviously, where the mother had pushed them to, the kids are 5 and 7, my son's turning 6, so they'll be 6 and 7 years old, slaps on the face, and not hard slaps, minor slaps. That's the allegation. The police came that night. There were no marks on the kids. That night, the police took my daughter via my consent. I showed them the actual family court orders. They said, look, it's up to you. Do you want us to take your child and give her back to the mother for the night? Because she is crying. Yes, she is crying, officer, because the mother just told her that all her little friends are over her house and they're going to have a party and a lot of lies like that. And I've also got that recording. I'm recording you guys right now too. Do you guys want to hear it? And they're like, no, it's okay. But my daughter was crying, so I said, look, take her. You know what I mean? And she'll end up seeing that all these lies that are perpetuated by the mother, that's all they are, just lies. But anyway, the very next day, I get a phone call from the police at 10 o'clock in the morning. And they said, look, if you've got your son, please come to the police station. We just have to do something. I knew what it was. It was a welfare check. I had nothing to worry about. I'm not hiding anything. Haven't hit anyone. I've gone to the police station effective immediately. They took my son into a room for a very, very brief moment. It was probably about 30 seconds. They would have asked him if he's happy. They would have asked him if he'd been hit by myself. And my son was given back to me. Obviously, he's given him the answers of, I'm okay, I'm happy, my father hasn't done anything to me. And I've walked away with my nephew and my son. You see, my nephew was a witness. My nephew is 11 years old. And my nephew knows what's going on. So my nephew sees the police, what they're doing. He knows what's going on. He knows that this mother is making all these false allegations. He also knows that the police are backing her up. Now, this is just an 11-year-old kid who pretty much has already been given red pills at the age of 11. And he's going to be a witness in mid-January at this hearing where my children are going to go up against me, their father, who has not even hit them, but who have been put there. They'll be put there in the witness box by the police, who know I haven't hit anyone, by the mother, who knows I haven't hit anyone. But the kids are being gaslighted, and pretty much they're taking the way of least resistance, because when they go back home to their mother, every time I had seen them, they're interrogated by their mother, and the mother pretty much punishes them whenever they say nice things about their father, myself, whenever they say anything that's good. And how do I know this? Because my kids used to tell me. So my lawyer pretty much also said that if I win this matter in mid-January, then I should end up getting the kids. About a week or two after having this hearing, I'm also going to go to see the same psychiatrist who put the expert family report together for the family court. So I'm going to go, the mother's going to go, the kids are going to go, and the new man in my ex's life is also going to go. And mind you, they have a child, and I honestly believe that he hasn't got a clue about how bad she is. I know that he knows she is bad. I know he's not happy in the relationship. He's been cucked, and he's probably in complete regret. But she's got him by the balls now because he's got a kid by her. He knows she's abusive. Abusers don't just stop at the last relationship that they were in. They carry on the abuse even into new relationships multiple times. It's ingrained in them to be abusive. And females also carry on the abuse because they know they can get away with it. But if there was punishment, if government would punish these female abusers, then their abuse would be limited. They'd still be abusers, but obviously not to that extent. So going back to the hearing, what I will be doing when I go to see this psychiatrist is taking the recording, the whole recording of that night, the event that occurred. The recording goes for an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 11 minutes, something like that. I'll be taking the recording, which is inclusive of about 2 minutes before the mother had called. It includes the whole conversation between my daughter and the mother of my daughter. It includes also my son talking to his mother, pretty much not wanting to talk to her much because he's happy playing Sonic the Hedgehog games with his 11-year-old cousin, which is my nephew. He'll also be able to hear how the mother's telling my daughter how all her friends are there at her house. They're going to have a party. She can see a hot air balloon and she misses her so much. And then back again to reminding her of how her friends, this time adding in her younger cousins, they're all there and some of them are on their way. They're going to have a party. And it was just dawdling with words is what I called it. Dawdling with words. Just pretty much just staying on the same thing and pulling on emotional strings on my daughter's emotional strings, to the point where my daughter started screaming, come and pick me up, come and pick me up. And I've grabbed the phone off my daughter, and I've said to my ex, listen, if you haven't got anything good to say, then just hang up the phone, stop dawdling with your words. And my daughter starts screaming. The mother, I hung up the phone, and the mother calls the police. About 20 minutes later, maybe 30 minutes later, the police are knocking on my door. Just before they knock on my door, I'm telling my daughter, I'm explaining to my daughter, look, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Oh, I know what's going on, so I'm not blaming you. And then the police knock on the door. And between the time that the call was hung up, as in the mother and my phone was hung up, not the recording device, but the mother and my daughter, when I'd hung up that phone call and the police had come, my son had actually told my daughter to, stop yelling, stop screaming, we can't listen to the TV. And my nephew pretty much said words to that effect as well. So when the police had also come, my daughter had said to my son, look, come with me, come. And he said no, he wanted to stay there. So I've told the police, do you want the recording? They didn't want the recording. I told them I was recording them. They didn't want the recording. Why not? Because if they get to the bottom of everything straight away, there's no business in it for them. The cost-benefit analysis works negatively, not positively for them. There's less work for them. And when you see all these little things like that indicate to you that these police, they don't care about the welfare of the children. They don't care about your welfare either. You see, that night they took my child, my daughter. The very next day, I went in the morning with my son and my nephew to do a welfare check for my son. That afternoon, I'd returned my son. That was the last time I'd saw my son. That was about 3 months ago. 2 weeks later, I got to work it out. I've got the documents. It was either 2 weeks later or a whole month later. I get a phone call from the police. I go to the police station, and that's when I'm told that I'm charged. So I get charged a whole month later. I don't get put in a holding cell. I just get given a little yellow slip. As my friend said it, you know what? It looks like a defect notice for a car. They know you haven't done nothing. And I said to the police officer, I said to him, you know I haven't done nothing. I said to him, you can't do this. I said, how can you do this? He said, look, it doesn't give me any pleasure to do this. I said, it doesn't matter. I go, you can't do this. I go, you know that I know that you know I haven't done anything wrong. You know completely and wholly that I haven't done anything wrong. How can you do this? So I've given what they call representations, as in the recording device, sorry, not the recording device, the recordings, and some other additional information to show the motive of the mother to the prosecutors. The prosecutor that ends up reviewing the material pretty much, I believe, hasn't gone over anything. And why do I say that? Because last week, at the actual second mention, the prosecutor has, and it's a female prosecutor, has announced that she hasn't even watched the DVD of the children being interviewed. So what are you going to compare my recording against? What are you going to compare it against? Of course you can't take in the representations and come up with a conclusion. You can't come up with anything conclusive. That the father hasn't done anything. You don't even know what the father has done anyway, because you haven't even gone over the DVD, the DivX recording of the interview of the children. This is pathetic. This is petrifying. It's abusive towards men such as myself and yourself, if you've been through this before. You know what I'm talking about. This shit's got to stop. It's abusive towards the children. This government doesn't care. They tell you that they care. They don't care. When someone pops up and starts talking about male rights, they shoot him down real quick, real fast. The last person I heard speak about male rights, I'm talking about politicians here, was, believe it or not, Pauline Hanson. Pauline Hanson, and the media have shot her down quick. They've painted her as some Ku Klux Klan member, and the only person that I know that has ethnic people in her party or their party to such an extent is Pauline Hanson. Believe it or not, Pauline Hanson has a person that's in her group that's of Lebanese descent. You know, but she's against all these people. She's against all immigrants. She wants to send all Muslims home. That's not what she's stating. She's pretty much, if you listen to what she's stating, she's talking about a balance. That's all she's talking about a balance. If you're from Lebanon and you're listening to this, for example, how would you like it if white people moved into your country and took over and became the dominant race in your country? You know, Lebanon's made up of primarily brown people. You know, I know there's white and there's darker people too, but primarily white people. How would you like it if the Japanese, for example, moved into your country, took over your country? You know, anytime a man or men are being represented in a positive way, the person that's representing them in a positive way, they're being shot down real fast. Now, this is drifting towards MRAism, you know, being a men's rights activist. And I find nothing wrong with being a men's activist, but you got to learn from past. You got to learn from history as well. It doesn't really get you anywhere. You need to be a MGTOW first. You need to be a man going his own way first. It doesn't have to be in the collective way. Go your own way. What makes you happy? What's going to protect you? What's going to protect your sanity and your health and your well-being? My cousin, my nephew, the son of my brother, 11 years old. He's about to turn 12, already taking red pills, man. How many other little kids out there taking red pills? Seeing what's going on. You're probably listening to this and you've probably taken red pills at a young age as well. You know, what's gonna be the fate of our future, of our future generations? And you wonder why men aren't having kids. It's up to the man as well. We take contraceptives. We use condoms and other means of contraceptives. And in the future, there's going to be pills coming out real soon. You know, if we don't have more than 2 kids per household, then I'm not saying you should be in a relationship in the first place to have kids. This is why they're bringing in immigrants. Because the immigrants don't know about the Family Law Act of 1975. They don't have a clue about what's going on in family courts. The men coming from overseas haven't taken any red pills. This is why, in my opinion, it's time to teach these people that are overseas about what's going on in the Western world. It's very important, in my opinion. And these people that are here that have come from overseas very recently, they also need to learn about the red pill, about what's going on and how they're being used. You might look at them as your enemy. But it's wrong. If you're going to look at them as your enemy and just tease them and mock them, you're not going to get anywhere. If anything, you're going to create a level of enmity and animosity and hatred. And they're men too. If you're really in it for men and you care about men, then why are you teasing these men? Educate them. You don't have to educate them. Walk your own way if you don't. What I'm trying to say is don't be negative about it. You know, you can tell them the truth. The truth might feel negative, but ultimately it's a positive. And if they were pretty much to not get into these blue-pilled relationships and then get screwed over, then they can be your ally. They can be your ally because the establishment is relying on these blue-pilled men for their power, the grip of power that they have in 30 years from now. They're relying on their men. Because we have already woken up. That's why there's a war against white men. I'm not white, but that's why there's a war against white men, because white men have woken up. They learned. They know what's going on. It's time for everybody to learn, every man. Take care, guys. Till next time. Peace. Thanks for listening.